there was a study many, many years ago called the Adverse Childhood Event Study. And basically what that study showed is that it was, if you had these 5 predictors, if you had childhood trauma, drama, if you had a parent or a close relative that was an alcoholic, if there was sexual abuse, there were 5 things that they had, and you could, if depending upon that score, you could have predictive value in terms of what your health longevity would be and the other health issues that you would have as an adult. Because if you don't heal those issues as a child, they actually progress, believe it or not, as an adult.
Yeah.
So that's why we knew that the mental health piece was critical for what we were trying to do.
All right, what's going on, everyone? I'm your host, Deron Day, with the Hawaii Millionaire Mindset, the Blueprint Conference. And like I said, man, we cannot do these events without our amazing, amazing sponsors. And today we got a special surprise. 2 great people, Miss Kim and Kim. Both are doctors, Dr. Kelley, Dr. Bradford. And they are not just doctors, but they are also entrepreneurs. As you see, Ms. Kim B representing the Core Wellness Healing, that's their company. I'm so excited. Not only that, man, they become great friends, but we're going to go ahead and get started. First, welcome, ladies. How y'all doing?
Aloha, Dee.
We are fantastic.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us and giving us the opportunity to share a little bit more about Core Wellness Healing and also to be involved with your DB community. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Yes, awesome. So let's first off, I want you to tell the listeners, again, I know that y'all have y'all company Core Wellness, but y'all also are certified doctors. And can we just give a background, what you specialize in, and tell me, what made you go on that path? I know y'all do a lot of holistic and wellness and all that, but I'd like to hear from both of y'all to get y'all stories, and so that the listeners know who we speaking on, Miss Kim and Kim.
Okay, certainly. So just to correct it a little bit, so I'm a medical physician. I'm actually Kimberly Kelley. On your screen, it may be showing Kim Bradford. Kim is our mental health professional with several years in the military, and she'll be bringing more about the mental health piece herself. But I just wanted to correct, she has a master's degree, but she's not a doctor. Our other partner is actually a Chinese doctor of medicine, and that is Brooke. Brooke couldn't be here today, but I just wanted to make sure your audience was squared away on that.
Absolutely.
But so Core Wellness Healing, really we want to empower individuals and professionals and communities to kind of have a more balanced life. And the origin of Core Wellness, the CORE means Center of Restored Energy. And what happened was, many years ago, I was going through a transition in my life, and I was trying to find different modalities that could help us serve me in a better way, not just the pharmaceutical-based alternatives that were available. And so I had always had a vision or a dream of coming to Hawaii and retiring here. And when I was going through my transition in life, I ended up here, and I was looking for a more holistic way. And as you know, Hawaii is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. And it was the grounding that I was able to get when I was walking the beaches, when I was swimming. Those are the things that helped me to heal. And so once I found out how beautiful, amazing, no side effects that was, then I wanted to give that to others. Even though I was medically trained, I knew that wasn't, when I say medically trained, Western trained, that wasn't the way that helped me to heal. And so I wanted to give others a way to heal in a more natural, holistic way. And so that was originally the origin of Core Wellness Healing.
Awesome. So Miss Kim Bradford, right? So what was your shift from, I guess, traditional medicine into like more wellness and healing?
So for me, I spent almost 25 years in the military. And of course, as you know, with the military, sometimes when you have
Thank you for your service. We all veterans. Thank you. Got to shout out.
medication
Yes.
to you. And what I realized is that that had to be a better way. So Kim and I talked about it, and we understood that movement was important, that nutrition was important, that mindfulness was important, that acupuncture, massage, just understanding the basics of self-care. So you could move from the modality of taking Western medicine and really begin to heal within. And so the excitement of being partnered with someone who had the same name, had the same energy,
Right.
had a desire to want to heal people from the inside out, it was just an amazing feeling to be able to take it from where we first in infancy looked at it and say, you know, we really can heal ourselves. There's the power to heal ourselves. But what does that look like? And then going within our own selves, dealing with our own issues, our own situations, our own challenges, and then be able to present that within a business mind frame to say, hey, if we could do it, you can too. And so
Absolutely.
that's the basis of core wellness. And we have a desire not just to give it to the Hawaii millionaire mindset, the DB community, but to the world, because it's in its simplicity that our healing truly begins.
No, I'm 100% on it. Like y'all know, and I mentioned to others that 2025, I really been just researching and learning about just different type of healing, how the natural healing that is.
That's right.
I think that's one of the biggest things that's going to be coming up as far as anti-aging, longevity. How do our body heal itself? Do different foods or plant, whatever the case may be, and I think that's going to be a big shift. I think there's with technology, with AI. I think when you put AI in medicine, or not even medicine, but things based off your genetic or DNA, I think that's going to help us as far as Americans or just the world itself, so that people can live even longer. What are y'all thoughts on that? With how with technology coming, and do y'all feel the same or?
Oh no, I think you're absolutely 100% right on the money with that. There are new testing, new modalities that are available that you can look at an individual's DNA and
Yes.
give that person specifically what they need or what their DNA may be suggesting that they need in terms of supplements. And I know that you've been doing a lot of research and a lot
A
of work
lot.
on yourself,
Absolutely.
and you are definitely moving in the right direction. And I think there's a vibe that's getting away from the pharmaceutical based medicines because they don't work for the
Right.
most part. You know, it's a business, and it's in the business of not necessarily keeping you healthy, because if we
Right.
keep you healthy, then you lose a customer, and that's not a good business model.
Right.
So that is why doing things more naturally, more holistically. And just as a point of reference, back in the 1920s, there were different modalities. There were chiropractors and massage. That was the way that we healed. And especially here on the islands, it was more of a traditional, holistic model. And then you had in the 1920s, Rockefeller and his group came along and realized the value or the profit that can be made in medicine. And so you had different types of medical schools, but they actually shut them down because they were against the narrative that the Rockefellers were pushing. And so they shut down a lot of schools. They didn't give them funding and things like that unless they were supporting their model. And their
Right.
model was actually based, most of the pharmaceutical model is based on actually oil. There's oils and things like that in the medication that they promote. You can't patent Mother Nature,
Right.
okay? And
I like that.
a lot of the pharmaceutical treatments and medications that they use now are actually the root derivative is actually from a Mother Nature, a plant, that you can get naturally, but you can't patent that, so you can't make
Right.
money off that. So
Yeah.
definitely,
It's a money
that's the
thing.
key.
I'm telling you, like, I don't know, but it seems like I'm becoming addictive about how I'm like going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you, like, you may have to come over here and show you my the stuff I've been buying. To get I
Okay.
like when you said like I like that DNA and
Yes.
learning, like you say, hey, I can, there's based off your DNA, I know what I'm lacking, I know what my body rejecting, and I can go in and get those things naturally, things that I can put in
Yes.
my body to, that somebody else DA ain't going to be totally different. Maybe
That's
they
right.
like mashed potatoes, and maybe I love mashed potatoes, but it may not be the best thing for me. It may
Right.
be the cause or root cause for my inflammation.
That's
And
That's right.
right.
and I'm learning that, every morning I wake up and I go to the gym. I'm working out, but I guess what I'm listening to, I'm not listening to the sports. I'm not listening to my music that motivate me like I used to. I'm listening to people, and I'm obviously coming to y'all too as well, and and bouncing ideals and things. But I'm a true believer of what you're saying, and I think it's when you and this right here is for Kim B. Hawaii Millionaire Mindset. A lot of people come to the conference, and we work in like entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs. I think about just people that work in like 12 hours, 18 hours. They missing, the kids, they gains, or they trying to get to it. They like, listen, I got only maybe 12 to 16 hours a day. I got to work. I got to wear multiple hats. I'm a CEO, I'm a finance person. I got to pay this bill. I got to travel. I got to do this. Got to take care of the kids. Got to all these things. And then the biggest thing is I see that they're not really taking care of themselves. CEOs, just business owners, young entrepreneurs, what are some things or that y'all see how that can affect a person body?
So, when you talk about that, that is the key to the pillars of what we do here at Core Wellness, because it's really giving you an opportunity to get back to the basics, especially like as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a, now a veteran. We're so busy taking care of everybody else that we put us on the back burner. Something as simple as, are we drinking enough water? Do we have nutritionally sound food? Because when you're working 12, 16, 18 hours, you're not making a home cooked meal. You're grabbing something on the go. Is that something on the go going to be beneficial and or detrimental to our bodies? And so when you're talking about the availability of AI and technology, there's so much that we can read now. Like you're saying, you're working out, doing, listening, you're not doing your music, but you could listen to a podcast, understanding about the vibrations and how it connects to your body, right? Eating those foods, drinking the water, all of that comes together, and it's going to be critical for the entrepreneur who are working on the 100 roads to wealth, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can't get 100 roads to wealth unless you understand it, and it's almost in connection with the 100 roads to health, because there is no health. There is no wealth without your health.
Yeah,
You can
100%.
have all the money in the world, and we've seen that. You could look at any entrepreneur who've worked their way up. If you're not in sync in ensuring that your body is taken care of, your physical man is as much is as your spiritual man connecting to whatever it is that you're trying to do. So if you're trying to have 100 roads, well, you got to make sure that your body is in connection,
Right.
your mind is in connection and alignment with your body. So those are the key factors that we continue to push in core wellness, because we do have entrepreneurs that come to us and say, yeah, I'm working 60, 80 hours a week, but I have high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease, right? How do I do that? Well, you combat that, just what you said, the
Right.
educational piece of knowing what type of foods I need to eat, eating those foods. And then that's where we come along and we teach those classes about, the dirty dozen and the clean 15, about how much water you need to drink, what it is about movement, right? And why is massage not just so that you can relax, but it aligns your body right. So all of those things are so critically important as we move toward these 100 roads to wealth. And for these young entrepreneurs, they said, I want to be on the grind right now, but you can't grind if you don't have energy.
Absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
energy you need, the fuel comes from the food that you eat. So what are you putting in your body that's fueling your mind, that's giving you clarity of thought?
Yeah. No, and you're right, because no, I'm 100% with you, and kind of also go back what Kim K was saying, Dr. Kelley, Kim K, and you was mentioned about the Rockefellers, and I was just, yesterday I was at the gym and I was listening. It was just, just talking about how what's his name, just took over Donald Trump, just put in the White House for the food, over the food.
Oh, Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Hmm.
He was talking about exactly what you were saying.
Hmm.
To the bone. Like, they want to drain all that out because it become for profit now. The food's for profit. And one of the things that he was talking about, man, like it just amazed me how he was like, they got so clever that they know how your body work. Where they're these companies, big company, food companies are putting stuff in there so to make you addictive, and it's not ain't good for you. And the same thing they doing to your kids. And again, it goes back from for profit, and it's just And I was thinking like, oh, yes, this is your government. A lot of these FDAs they brought off already. Or they done hit their 20, 30 years. They ready to retire, and they only last 3 years. They going out the door, so they doing favors for the big company they about to go work for. So it's very important. I truly understand, and it's just I think in order for us to save our kids, save ourselves, we out here hustling. We got to go back to the basics. We got to go
That's
back
right.
to
Yeah.
the ground, like the basis. Like I'm almost scared to even go to the grocery store. Right? I'm like trying to figure out what's the best places I could to go. What are y'all thoughts
That's
on
why
that?
gardening became so important. It's an opportunity for
Right.
you growing your own
Oh,
food, right? So you know what's going into the food that you're growing. And that's why seeds are so important. If you look at it now, most of the foods that we purchase in the grocery store are seedless,
right,
right? But
right,
we need that seed with a soil that has not been tainted with all
right.
of these chemicals that allows it to grow bigger, faster, shinier. But the reality of it is we have to ensure that we're getting our knowledge base. We have to do some research. We spend time researching companies, how to make money, but we got to research the foods that we eat. And why do we eat the foods that we eat? And what is the benefit to the foods that we eat for our bodies and for our children? And you're right, they're putting these red dyes and yellow coloring and all this other stuff, and they're hitting the systems that make it taste good. And so you're gravitating toward what's tasting good, but it's not necessarily beneficial.
Oh man, this good. And I got a question for you. And this Dr. Kelley, right? I got a question for you. Uh, this is just a simple question. Someone's going to be watching this and hearing all this, and if they hearing this and they're hearing it coming from y'all, I'm telling you, I know this stuff is real. People that y'all watching this, where's some places right now they're watching, they want to take a different direction. Where's some just simple places anywhere? What do you recommend for people to be able to go, but keeping it affordable that can go out there to purchase foods that may not be as tainted or just going to be good for the body? What are your recommendations?
Yeah, I think number one, I would say if you can grow your own food or your own garden, that would be ideal. That's number one, because as Kim mentioned, you know what's going into it. You know what you put in the soil or what you didn't put in the soil in
Right.
terms of chemicals and fertilizers. That's number one. But if you can't do that, then go to the local farmers markets. Most parts of the country, especially now that spring and summer or summer's on the way, spring is here, have a lot of farmers market where you can get fresh produce, and it may not necessarily be qualified as organic, because to get their organic label, that's a process that costs money, and a lot of the local smaller farmers don't want to do that. But that does not mean that it's still not a good source, and I would say that would be the number one source to go to. Believe it or not, I am not necessarily a fan of Whole Foods and some of those larger conglomerates, because they have issues too. And the main thing is, you have to just, if you're going to go to the grocery store, be sure to read the labels. And we talked about that in the DB community. Making sure that it doesn't have more than three ingredients. There's a lot of manipulation going on,
Yeah.
and mislabeling, and they may not call it sugar, they'll call it something else. And so
Wow.
the consumer has to really be aware.
Oh wow. It's a
Mhm.
lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So going to core wellness mission, right?
Mm.
Because it sound like y'all is on a mission. What's the heart behind core wellness healing?
To have everyone have an understanding that they have control of not only their lives, but the foods that they eat, the relationships that they have, because it's communal. I mean, it's so communal and connective. Like when we look at core wellness, when we talk about the center of restorative healing, what does that mean? That means you want to be alignment first and foremost with yourself. And a lot of times we don't even know what that looks like because we're not hot A. We're not honest, open, transparent, and authentic with ourselves. And so part of the core wellness healing is being hot A first and foremost with yourself, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, right? And when you understand that, then you can grow from that. And that spreads out to everything. If you can get you right,
Right.
everything you touch
Absolutely.
will be gold because you have centered yourself first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's good. How do you mix Eastern and Western healing methods?
Right. So, as you know, I'm more Western trained, and so I can bring that aspect to the company in terms of labs that are ordered, diagnosis that you may have, consultations, all of those things. I can look at that and analyze that, and more than likely show you a better, an easier, safer way to take care of yourself.
Right.
The Eastern part comes in is because, like I said, the things that healed me. You can sit in the doctor's office. You can sit on the psychiatrist's couch. You can go to surgery. You can have things cut out of you, and that's typically what happens. But the issues are kind of in your tissues, and so if you don't get down to the root and core of your problems, you won't you won't you won't heal.
Right.
You may manage the issue, but you want to heal the issue. And so that's why we at Core Wellness bought the Western with the Eastern. And so Brooke, who's not here right now, but Brooke is Eastern trained. That's where your Tai Chi comes in. That's where your acupuncture comes in. And these are ancient traditions that have been used, for a
Thousands,
millennium,
forever, forever.
that were powerful, beneficial. And so you can't tell me all of a sudden that now in less than 100 years that's the only thing that should be going is the pharmaceutical based Western medicine. That's not so. Now I think Western medicine is awesome. It's incredible for if you have a trauma. If you have trauma, you need to go to the emergency room, things like that. But for chronic diseases, hypertension,
Right.
high cholesterol, kidney disease, I think there are other ways that you can heal, that and other modalities that do it better than Western medicine. And so we bought those together, the three of us. As I said, Brooke doing the Eastern medicine, me doing the Western medicine, and then Kim bridging that gap in terms of the mental health piece. There was a study many, many years ago called the Adverse Childhood Events Study. And basically what that study showed is that it was, if you had these five things, five predictors, if you had childhood trauma, drama, if you had a parent or a close relative that was an alcoholic, if there was sexual abuse, there were five things that they had, and you could, if depending upon that score, you could have predictive value in terms of what your health longevity would be and the other health issues that you would have as an adult. Because if you don't heal those issues as a child, they actually progress, believe it or not, as an adult.
Yeah.
And so that's why we knew that the mental health piece was critical for what we were trying to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And as far as like so what do you offer at Core Wellness that makes it make Core Wellness really stands out?
Okay, so most wellness companies have one piece. We deal with all three of the pieces. So we have, like as Kim mentioned, Dr. Kim mentioned, she's dealing with the consultations of your medical from the Western piece. Then you have Brooke that will give you alternatives to the Eastern piece. So it may be Tai Chi, Qigong, it may be acupuncture, it may be massage, it may be laughing yoga. It just depends. And then for me, we're going to talk it out because I think it's important. It's one thing for you to have the consultation, know what's going on within your body, go to Brooke and get something else. But if there isn't a verbal or an emotional release
Right.
with that, it doesn't work. You need all three of them to work together. So we're very synergistic as a group because we know that you can't do one piece without doing the other one. You got to deal with the whole body. So we're dealing with, when we talk about the whole body, that's the mind, body, spirit.
Mind, body, and healing.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
well, I want to tag on to that. One of the things that we do, one of our pillars is nutrition, and when we talk about nutrition, most people think, oh, we're going to talk about the food groups and all of that. We
Right.
do, but not really, because that's actually secondary nutrition. Primary nutrition, which is what we really talk about first, is the relationships that you have, the companionship,
Right.
those kinds of things, relationships, companionships that you have. Those are far greater, far more or just as important. I won't say greater than, just as
Right.
important as the secondary nutrition, what you put in your mouth. It's just as important what you put in your soul. And by that, I mean, I remember little kid, and I'm sure you do, playing all day, playing out long. You never got hungry. You never cared
Right.
about, all you want to do is play with your
Go,
friends
go,
because
go,
that
go.
was feeding your soul. And so those are the things that we've forgotten as adults, is to have fun and hone those relationships. And so that's what we talk about. Primary versus secondary nutrition is really, really important, and one of our core pillars in core wellness healing.
Awesome. So you're talking about mind, body, and healing. Do you
Mhm.
have like a powerful success story where um that connection helps someone recovers or heal?
I'm only laughing because she's nudging me. Tell that story.
Yeah.
So I actually have many.
Wow.
I'm an anesthesiologist by trade, but actually my specialty is actually pain management. And so when I worked for 20 years at Triple Army Medical Center, we would have soldiers, civilians, and whatnot come to us, and a lot of the um, situations that weren't amenable to the normal techniques and things like that, they would call me and say, hey, Dr. Kim, can you go see whatever you can do? This
Right.
patient's not responding to the narcotics, the Dilaudid's not working, blah, blah, blah. They're miserable. And so I would go, I would listen to the patient, I would listen and kind of, we're energy beings. Let me just start by that. We're energy beings. We
Right.
move by vibration. And so it's not just here, take a pill, this will help you. It's a lot of other things that go into how people feel and what makes them feel sick or what makes them
Right.
have pain. I realize that. So I had a situation where a lady who was actually almost died, but she did better. She had I think she had breast cancer.
Stage 4.
Yeah, she had stage 4 breast cancer. And then she also had some kind of abdominal situation going on. At any rate, intractable pain is the bottom line. And so I actually carry in my pocket some essential oils. And the essential oils are just a way that I have to see where a patient is at. And so this particular lady was just saying, oh, my pain is horrible. I can't do anything. And she was in a very dark place. And I said, well, first of all, let's open the windows. Let's get some vitamin D in here. Let's get some
Right.
sunshine.
Son,
So we
get the
did that.
vitamin D. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And then I said, let's put on, she was a religious woman. I said, let's put on some nice music. Let's put on some Christian music. Let's give you some hope. Let's go. You can do this. This is not the
Yeah.
end for you. It doesn't have to be. So then I pulled out these essential oils, and one was something about inspiration and the other was motivation. I said, well, smell these. I know you're a beautiful woman. You like perfume. I know you can't wear perfume, but maybe you might like one of these to help you feel better. So I said, but close your eyes and let's just see which one you like. So long story short, she smelled all of them. And there was one in particular that she said, oh, what is that? That's repulsive. I don't like that. What is that one? That smell was forgiveness. It was
Oh
forgiveness.
wow.
And when she
Yeah.
opened her eyes and she said, what was that one? I said, it was forgiveness. She started crying because she was actually um, at the end going through a severe divorce that was really, in a sense, it had broken her heart and broken her spirit. And since that day, she got better and better,
Wow.
and eventually, got out of the hospital and is thriving. She's in another country right now, but she's
Right.
thriving
Wow.
medically, spiritually, and
Oh,
emotionally.
wow.
And she can tell the story better than I, but
Right.
that's happened again and again and again.
So
There are
I'm
many
pretty
stories like that.
and I'm pretty sure you have people like naysayers, right? When it comes to some, maybe skeptical, but how do you help people open up, to more holistic way of thinking?
Well, oftentimes when they come to us, I'm not saying it's a last resort, but it certainly isn't the first resort. And so they've tried other things and they want something different. And so if you want something different, you have to do something different. So most of them come to us with some skepticism, but they want help. And so they're willing to almost try anything.
Awesome. That's pretty amazing.
And just to add to that, when you talk about trying anything, I had a client.
You got some stories. She's got some stories
There's
too.
lots of them, but one. Well, so I used to volunteer at the Chaplain's Family Life Center on Schofield, and I had a client, and big guy, sergeant major, running the world, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so for like 6 weeks, 6 weeks, I counseled him twice a week for 6 weeks. He would come in and he would just sit there, right? Didn't want to say anything. Came up the back stairs, came in, just sit there. And I would do the same thing. I would check in. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And he wouldn't say anything. Well, 6 weeks, we're into it, 6 weeks. I've checked in. He says nothing. He gets up, 50-minute session, he leaves. Finally, on the last session, I push everything back and I put a sheet down, right? And in this
Uh-huh.
sheet, uh, I just sit there and I said, hey, I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to allow you to whatever is going on. You haven't shared in 6 weeks, but you come every single week. You're committed to coming. So whatever it is. So I had something called a Komochi doll. It's a Japanese feeling doll.
Yeah.
And I said, whatever you're feeling, I want you to go through these dolls and then take them off. Right. And I called it the Icky Wiki game. Go figure. I was just making up stuff, praying for help along the way. But anyway, this gentleman ended up throwing, like just Kim talked about, forgiveness, self-hatred, just it was a lot that he was dealing with. And at the end of the session, I wrapped it up and I threw it away. I kind of like pretended I put it in the trash. And he said, thank you. He said, I've been to many counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers, and nobody has ever just sat with me in silence and allowed me to process what I was
Wow.
feeling in my
Right.
mind,
Right.
out poking and prodding, asking what I
Yeah.
wanted. And then you gave me the freedom and liberty to let it all go. And now I feel better, right?
Right. Right.
For about 280 pounds. And he walked out there. And when he finished, you could see that he was lighter. And then he had tears in his eyes. He said, I've never experienced this ever.
Wow.
So you never know
No.
people need until you're able to sit in silence, allow for them, which gives me a plug to let you know that we do a retreat called Writing Your Worries in the Sand. And it's an
That's powerful.
opportunity to sit and process with yourself, along with other things that we do. But most people don't understand that because we're so busy taking care of everybody else doing and everything
Right.
else. We don't ever sit in silence and process our own stuff. So
Uh,
that's what we do. We allow you whatever space you need, we give it to you, and then we're there along the way to support you.
awesome. No, that's I like that. Dr. Kim Kelley, what are some wellness trends you seeing that's going to be growing in the next few years?
I think you mentioned one of them with the DNA and looking at things on a more cellular level, on an individual level, because as you well know, there have been a lot of supplements. The supplement field really grew, and you take this supplement for this, that supplement, and you may or may not gotten good relief or good results. And the reason being is because it wasn't targeted toward you. And
Right.
so now that we have, these new modalities that we can actually look at every individual's DNA and specifically gear medication and or herbs, vitamins, things like that, and even lifestyle. I know I got mine done, and I used to, like, oh, you need more cardio. Okay, well, I'll get out there and run and da da
Right.
da. Da. But for me, that's actually not good for me. What is good for me is to do hikes and things like that
Right.
in Mother Nature, but not to do cardio, pounding the
Right.
pavement. So,
Have you been to one of those centers though, like that does all that genetic testing and
so
I can't say the word. So
methylation.
that word. There
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Yes.
So,
Have you did all that? See, you can tell me I'm learning though. I might can't say all of it, but I'm learning.
you got it, D. You right on the money. So yeah, I did send my DNA or my blood sample away, as well as my saliva away to be tested for over 600 different, things,
Right.
and it came back, and it was an exhaustive list. And I went through a course, that kind of helped me decipher what it was that I needed. And so now I'm in another course to help others to learn,
Right.
once they get their testing, then I
Right.
can help them interpret. So I
That's
have,
awesome.
that there's one in the Middle East. I think it's in Turkey.
Yeah. Yeah. I go in there
Mhm.
next month. I leave.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Yeah. And the
Out there.
cost is,
Yep.
it's a minimal cost considering the extensive blood work and testing and X-ray imaging that they do. So it's well worth it. I haven't been to that, so you'll have to go and let me know what you think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are everyone that's listening, it's called Memorial Hospital in Turkey. And they are a state of art facility. And, they do these, what they call executive exams. So think of, these executive S&P 500 CEOs in the US, they're going to get some of the highest level of testing, right? And they paying, tens of $1,000s writing it off through the company. Same thing, same type of testings. Thing, all these CEOs go get, but they are able to find like diseases or issues and things, by just having the money. And it's a shame in our healthcare. I was listening to something like our healthcare. It's like we got like the bottom, like we like the 70th something as far as healthcare in the world, but our GDP is through the roof, and it's crazy and it blows my mind. But it goes back to they have the money to go do it, right? They fly to LA, Dallas, New York, and go get these executive exams. But what I have learned is all these years, the U.S. just bad mouth, just like how we do other countries and things like that, Africa and all these beautiful places in the world. And the only thing we know is what we see, right? But when you get out there and get to travel and you see, man, nah, man, that's not true. What the U.S. That's not how it is. I've been there. I've been to Turkey. This is my second time going back to Turkey, and I'm going there and had VIP treatment for a fraction of the cost. And I'm going back there. They're gonna, staying at a 5-star hotel. They picking me up. And we talking, all in 3,000 for the meals, 4,000 for a full body. It's a 3-day, 3 days, everything. And we're what we're doing. Me and my wife, my family, the DB community, our roads to 100 roads to health. What we're really focusing in is I've always been like the person who try to go out and test stuff before I tell people to do it. So I like kind of like lead the charge because I don't want to go do something or tell someone something that I'm not doing. So I'm out there. I'm out there trying to find the best places. Stem cells is one big one that's up next. I'm doing stem cells next. And that's I'm looking at going to Panama for stem cells down there to the Stem Cells Institution. So I'm doing my homework, I'm researching, but I see that the way the U.S. is set up is it's unfortunate. It's like the have and the haves not. As me being someone that's deep in like understanding money, as understanding economics and how money work, I'm seeing the wealth gap continue to spread over and over. It's just getting wider, and the have that has it that can go pay and get $50,000 for exams and go have someone pick their food from the farms or whatever the case may be. It's just it's sad, right? So I think that one of the things that I'm trying to do is learn so I can just educate people. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always in front of people, so I want to be able to help educate and teach people what y'all doing. So, but how do you plan to grow core wellness though? As those trends continue to unfold, what's y'all plan as y'all continue to grow core wellness?
Yeah, we want to be. We always want to be on the cutting edge, and like you said, it's about educating yourself. And so that's why I'm in a course now with Kashif Khan to learn how to read the DNA, so that we can bring that back to our community. And if they get the testing, then we can help them to decide, what supplements will benefit their health and things like that, and then trend to a more natural, more holistic. And I'm not saying if they're on blood pressure medicine, get off the blood pressure medicine, but
Right.
as they realize and their blood pressure becomes lower, then they will be able to get off their medications. And you always
That's me. I was on blood pressure medicine I'm around here running 12 minute 2 miles. And they
oh
say,
wow.
you got your blood pressure high,
Oh,
and so they say, oh yeah, it's genetic or whatever. But I changed, man. I changed the way I eat. I don't eat no fried foods. I don't eat no pork, beef. I I eat pretty clean, right?
Yeah.
And I just have not just been taking my medicine. I got this new Whoop now, right? We talked about in the community, but this new Whoop Life, which they don't pay me to say anything about this, but Whoop Life I got on, it tracks my blood pressure. Get my blood pressure and read it every morning, and it tracks it. And I think like wearables too. Wearable
Yes.
devices is a new trend. They got
Mhm.
the Oracle ring that's out.
Yep.
I think based off my research, you have the Oracle and you have the Whoop.
The Whoop. Those are
All
the
the
number one
other
and two.
Apple Watches, which I have, they
Mhm.
don't give you the analytical data and as accurate as those two.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are one and two, the ones you just mentioned, and they do give a lot of data, like immediate feedback.
So since we talk about entrepreneurs, we're gonna get ahead and wrap this up shortly.
Mhm.
Here. What advice do you have for young entrepreneurs that's watching this and they say, you know what, I'm watching it, and I want to be in the business of in health or healing?
Well, the first challenge is never give up. Because the first couple of times you start anything, it's not always successful. You're going to hit some roadblocks, you're going to hit some challenges. But you have to believe in whatever product you have, whatever you think is what your God given talent is that you're supposed to offer the world. You have to believe in it first and foremost. And so that would be the first thing I would say, your belief system. You got to believe in you first. And then as you prepare to do whatever you're doing, as we've been talking about this whole time, your health is your wealth. Just like we understand that the standard American diet is the sad diet, right? So
Right.
we know that we have to have the right foods. We know that we need to exercise. We know that we need to drink water. And that knowledge now is so much freer than it was before. You had to go look in the book. Now you got it on AI, you got it on the internet, you can catch a podcast. I
Right.
mean, it's open to you to learn if you're willing to invest the time.
I would say one of the things that, as a young entrepreneur, I mean, I think when I was younger, I was invincible. I still think I'm a little bit invincible, but not as much as I used to be. But as a business entrepreneur, you think you can, burn the oil at both ends, and you can for a while, but it'll catch up with you if you're not careful. So I say, have a good diet, eat clean.
Rest.
Um, Sleep is important. Sleep is number one, and then if you do those things one and two, I think you'll be a lot better off.
Awesome. Okay. So look, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, we're gonna go into what we call the fire round. All right.
Ooh,
Yeah, we're
let's
gonna
go.
shift into the fire round. That's short and quick answers.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start with Kim Bradford first, and then we're gonna go to Kim Kelley. All right, and then we're gonna go back.
Can we cheat?
Yeah, yep. And then we're gonna go. All right. So,
All right.
all right, trust me, it's gonna be simple here. So what's one daily wellness habit you never skip?
Meditation and prayer.
Awesome. All right, next.
I am. I say my I ams. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am a billionaire. My I am statement.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. All right, here we go. What book or podcast changed how you see the world?
Ooh, I got something.
I'll say one. Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. Yep.
And The Game of Life.
The Game of Life and How to Play.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I heard you. Okay. All right. How about this one right here? Favorite wellness tip for busy entrepreneurs?
Stop, pause, and take a deep breath.
I knew you was gonna say that because you make breathe.
Breathe. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same, Dr.
Yeah.
Kelley.
Yeah. Same thing.
Awesome. Okay. One thing you wish more people understood about healing?
That we have the power to heal within.
Mm-hmm.
That you have the power already.
Yeah, God has given you everything you need to succeed in life. We've dissociated from it, and you're looking for it in a doctor or in somebody else outside of you, but you've got the power within. So embrace that, believe that. That's the power.
Okay. All right. And this is my last one.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. So I want to know, like, what is your dream wellness retreat location besides Hawaii?
Oh, wow.
wellness retreat location?
I would say, let's go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Let's
So we're
go.
going to Dubai. Let's go.
Hey, let's go back to that. Hey, and
Yeah,
they're
let's go
kicking.
back to Dubai.
They kicking butt, man, out there. They're doing a lot of wellness stuff.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I was just telling Pam when we in Turkey, we're gonna be there for 9 days. I said, well, let's shorten up the trip and let's go to Dubai and go to
Yes.
that one and only wellness hotel. So we were
Oh,
just
yes.
talking about it literally
Yes.
like yesterday. So I think we definitely gonna do that. But with that being said, that right there wraps us up. Is anything that we didn't cover that y'all want to add?
No. Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it. It's been a joy for you to be our mentor on the business. And so we just want to give back to you and your community however we can.
All right.
And
Well,
as always, we're co-wellness healing. Be
yes.
well within.
Breathe.
Breathe. So,
Breathe.
yep. So Dr. Kim Kelley and Miss Kimberly or Kim Bradford. I'm going to thank y'all so much, though, coming out here, sharing y'all journey with us. Your insights on healing, mindset, and the wellness are so in line with what we're trying to build at the Millionaire Mindset and also in the DB community. So I do appreciate that. And thanks, everyone, for everyone listening. If you want to dive deeper about the holistic wellness, entrepreneurship, transformation, come out to Hawaii Millionaire Mindset, June 19th through the 21st. But for more information, you can go to www.corewellnesshealing.com. And is there any other places, how if someone watching this, they want to get a hold of one of you, is there any other handles that y'all want to share?
Kim at corewellnesshealing.com, and you can follow us on Instagram as well.
Okay, with that said, that is a wrap. I appreciate everyone for listening. Hey, we'll see you right here in Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Awesome.